Sup, Sexy Peas? Welcome to Sexy Peas, recipes to give you confidence in the kitchen. All right, here we go. So our drink this week is a vodka cranberry, but if you want to sound cool, it's also called a Cape Cod or a Cape Codder. So if you just want to sound like you're not a standard douche, use the Cape Cod reference. I prefer it, so that's what I call it. Once again, we're not measuring, so what I like to do is just fill your glasses up. We're going to use highball glasses. These are actually a little small for highballs, but they're basically the same thing. So we're going to fill it up with ice. Since we're making two, we'll fill both glasses. So fill them all the way up with ice. Now the ratio is 2 to 3, so we're going to have 2 parts alcohol to 3 parts cranberry. So basically, you want to fill it 2/5 of the way up with alcohol. Use a vodka, any vodka. You don't, for a drink like this, for a Cape Cod, you don't want to use a really good vodka because the flavor from the cranberry is going to far outweigh anything you would ever be able to taste from the vodka. So don't waste your money on buying a really good vodka because you're not going to be able to taste it. So basically, you're going to fill the glass up about 40%. Rough number. I had a bartender tell me yesterday that the way she does it is she counts to 3. So a 3 count is basically the amount that you want to put in it. And then we're just going to fill it the rest of the way up with cranberry. I think I just filled, as is the usual. Now here's what I know about me. You may recall that I've told you that nobody can tell you what you like, and that's the truth. Nobody can. I know that I do not like the taste of cranberry when it's mixed with vodka, but there is something that I do like. So I will take just a splash of cranberry and add it in so I get that red look, or at least a little closer to red, and I'll fill it the rest of the way up with a Red Bull. And so you're still getting a similar looking drink, it just doesn't taste the same, and either one of those are fine. There's a few different ways you can stir it up. You could just use just a bartender spoon. You could just use a regular spoon. Or you could do it the really fun way. Hold on. I'm back. This is the way I did it when I was a little kid. You just use a straw, put it to the bottom, blow bubbles, and then you spill. That mixes it up as well, but it's much more fun to taste it. We're going to garnish these with a lime. I totally forgot about that part. We're going to garnish these with a lime. There's 2 ways to garnish with a lime too. The first thing we need to do is cut our lime, so we're just going to cut it lengthwise. I should probably have a sharp knife in my hand though. Good gravy. Okay, we're going to cut it lengthwise this way. And then we're going to cut a slice out of it, so we're going to go vertically like this. And because we have 2 drinks, we're going to cut 2 slices. There we go. So we have 2 good slices here, just like that. So you can either put it on the lip of the drink, and if you're going to do that, basically we're just going to cut from the rind down towards the center, but don't cut through the rind. That looks like this. And what that does is it gives us basically the ability to stick it on the edge of the glass, but it still looks whole. The other way, and the reason I'll usually do this is because maybe I just have an end piece of lime left, is I'll just squeeze it directly into the glass and then drop it in. Always make sure you wash your fruits and vegetables before you put them in a drink. I usually do it as soon as I get them home from the grocery store just to be safe, but you do you, boo. You do you. All right. So the glasses we're using this week are highball glasses. This is a typical size of a highball glass. The problem is I don't have 2 of these, but I had 2 of these, which are essentially the same shape. They're just smaller, as you can clearly see. It works just the same, you just fill it up more. You don't have to use a highball glass to make a Cape Cod though. You can use a martini glass, you can use a rocks glass, you can use an old boot, I don't give a shit. You can use basically anything you want. It's typically served in a highball glass, but you can switch it out to whichever kind of glass you have available, like a derby glass. Ta-da. So this week we have 2 general rules or recommendations. Number 1 is get a bottle of whipped cream, not the little tub, the bottle of whipped cream. Trust me, if your dinner goes well, you may actually need this. Number 2 is, my buddy Dave reminded me of this. Angela's Dave, you might not know. Dave reminded me of this because we were talking about filming these, and I mentioned that nobody can tell you what you like, and he talks about he experiments a lot with foods and putting things together, lots of mustards, that type of stuff. But he reminded me when week 1, when I told you to be prepared, one of the things I should have told you is be prepared for somebody not to like your entire meal. And that's fine. If they don't like it, that's fine. Fuck them. But if they don't like it, you should probably still feed them. Keep a frozen pizza in your freezer. So if you mess up the meal so bad or somebody just doesn't like what you've made them, then you have something that you can make that doesn't take too long, usually 20 to 30 minutes. You can doctor it up, add things to it. We'll discuss that at another time. But just have something prepared in the freezer that you can use to cook if they don't like your meal or if you destroy it. Our staple this week is almond milk, which I use all the time as a substitute for, especially when things call for water, just to make them a little bit richer. I also use sometimes chicken stock as a substitute for water, just to add a little additional flavor. Our other staple for this week is highball glasses. Clearly I did not take my own advice because I only have one. I have another one, but it's oddly shaped and it has something weird around the outside of it that was knitted by somebody 20 years ago. At any rate, get you some highball glasses. Again, shop around, don't pay full price. Go to a yard sale, find it cheap. All right. One thing you need to be careful of when you're boiling a milk-like product, they tend to boil up and over pretty quickly, so you need to keep an eye on it. So don't wander far, don't go watch TV or anything like that. Stay close to it so you can see when it gets too warm so it doesn't boil over. Hit record. All right. So our recipe this week, just like last week, is a chicken noodle soup, except we're going to do a creamy chicken noodle soup. It's essentially exactly the same as last week. We're just going to make it better. So we're going to add our own chicken to it. So the first thing we want to do is just get this chicken cooked. You could just wrap it up in a piece of aluminum foil, put it in the oven at 350 for an hour, and be done with it. I like to add a little bit of salt and pepper to it. Not a lot. It's chicken, not pork, so just add a little bit. Grind it on. Wrap it up so it's sealed tight. Tight enough. Put it on your pan. And stick it in the oven at 350 degrees for an hour. And through the magic of television, we have it already done. Here we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this off and shred it. Be leery of the liquid that's left over. Make sure you get that away. So shredding chicken is, there's a lot of different ways to do it. A lot of people just like to take 2 forks and just pull it apart. One thing I like to do is I have a knife that's really dull. And so basically we're just going to push into the chicken and pull it apart. So use a dull knife and you can see it just starts to pull apart, and that's what we want. We want those chunks of chicken like that. Those are going to float around in our soup eventually. If you don't have a dull knife, it's fine just to use 2 forks. And you just take the 2 forks and just pull them apart. And it shreds the chicken. You can make the pieces as big or as small as you like. Get it off the fork. Get off my fork! So there we go with the last of this. Now we have our chicken all prepared, all shredded. And again, just like we did the soup last week, it simply calls for water in the direction, but we're going to switch it up a little bit. So instead of using just 8 cups of water, we're going to make it 4 cups of chicken broth to give it a little more flavor than just water. And then to make it creamier, we're going to use 4 cups of almond milk. So you can see we're using a different size pot. So if you're measuring, if you don't feel comfortable using a measuring cup, you can do it a different way. Here's another way you can do it. Chicken broth is 32 ounces, 4 cups. So we can pour this in. Oh, this is exciting. This is good TV. Are we on television? There we go. And so we're going to have 4 cups of chicken broth, but also 4 cups of almond milk. Make sure you have the unscented, vanilla. Some of them come with vanilla. Should I have this? Yeah, that's the original. Don't get that kind of flavoring in it because that'll really mess it up. So then what you can do is you can kind of see how much you have in it. Even if you want to, use your fingers on the outside so you know what level it is. And just put in that exact same amount. So you're going to make it twice as high as it currently is. So if I measure from the side, it's about 2 inches. So I want it to be about 4 inches. So I'm just going to start filling it up until I said inches, I meant fingers. So I get up to 4 fingers. And there we go. There's our base for this soup. So we're going to heat this up. Again, you don't need the flame outside the pot. This is a metal pot handle, so it's not going to melt, but it's going to get really freaking hot. So once we get this water boiling, we're going to pour in our ingredients, but then we're going to add 2 more things to make it extra creamy. One is just a bowl full of shredded cheese. It doesn't matter how much it is. You can have a lot or a little. It doesn't really matter. And then just a little container of sour cream. All right. Woo! Hot soup? No soup for you! I don't think I can say that. Somebody surely owns that, and he's a Nazi. Don't tell anyone. All right, so per the instructions, which I always recommend reading, we simmered it for 20 minutes, and now the last step is simply adding in the noodles and simmering it for another 10 minutes. But what we're going to do when we add in the noodles, we're also going to add in our extra chicken, our extra cheese, our extra sour cream, and just let the whole thing simmer for 10 minutes. Then we'll be good to go. You'll have a nice, full, big pot of tasty, creamy chicken noodle soup. Also, be careful pouring stuff in. The pan is hot. This is plastic. This is plastic. This is plastic. Don't touch your pot. Has the potential to melt it. Don't hold it up too high. You don't want to splash it in because I have a tendency to splash and it's really freaking hot. There we go. Dump that in. I like the flexible cutting board because then you can kind of squeeze it together. You can see this is all finely shredded, so we're not eating giant chunks of chicken. And it makes a terrible sound. Sounds like aliens attacking. We'll add in our, get my whisk back, add in our cheese. Let's start getting it moving because the cheese is going to start melting immediately. The chicken is already cooked. Everything's raw. So really, everything's raw. Everything's cooked. So all we're really doing at this point is heating stuff up. So let's get the sour cream in. My tongue came out when I was doing that. All right, now let's get it back on the heat. We're going to simmer it for another 10 minutes, then we're done. And our toast, may the best of your past be the worst of your future. Delish. If you want to go faster than the speed that we are going, or if you want to watch old episodes, if you want to get prepared for what you're going to need for next week's episode, you can go to sexapiece.com. It's spelled sexapiece.com. There's a link below where you can click on that. And enjoy the kitchen. We'll see you next week. So this week we have two, thank God for puberty. Let me start that again. And I was actually just recently reminded, so what I do, well, you can't see it. I don't know why I'm showing it to you. All right, that's that one. I can turn this off. As you saw in the recipe portion, the chicken stock. Good Lord. Sorry, I touched it. Needed to wash my hands. Kind of funny.